spotlighting Hawaii's leaders.
We want to bring in Governor David E.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor.
Lieutenant Governor, good morning. Thanks so much for joining us. Mayor Derek Kawakami.
Thank you so much, Senator, for being here.
Spotlighting the issues.
Where is the virus right now in our community?
How much is this overall going to cost the state?
How are you responding to the community's concerns? Talk about the level of citations that you guys are writing.
Spotlight Hawaii with Yanji Denise and Ryan Kalei Suji on the digital platforms of the Honolulu Star-Advertiser.
This episode of Spotlight Hawaii is brought to you by Longstrugs and Beachside Roofing.
Happy Aloha Friday. Thanks so much for tuning in here to Spotlight Hawaii. I'm Ryan Kalei Suji, joined by Yanji Denise. We are a few minutes late. We ran into some technical issues, but we are up and running. And this morning we'll be heading over to Maui.
That's right. We are joined now live by Maui Mayor Mike Victorino. Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor, for joining us this morning.
Aloha and good morning to you and everyone out there. I hope everybody has a happy, healthy, and prosperous new year. It's been a challenge, and I know we'll talk about it a little bit later, but we are all in it together. So mahalo for the time.
Yeah, and we appreciate your time. Let's get straight to the numbers when it comes to COVID. How are you feeling about where things are when it comes to case count and community spread of the virus on Maui right now?
Close the door. Right now, I'm very, what I would say, comfortable but very worrisome with the numbers continuously growing, as you've seen throughout the state, but mostly here in Maui. Maui County is very unique because of the 3 islands and the demographics and how these islands work. And some of the challenges we face right now really is the fact that the numbers have grown on smaller islands like Lanai and Molokai, and I'm always worried for them, the medical facilities, their hospitals cannot take on a big surge in any way. And then the residents of those islands moving over to Oahu or moving to Maui for care becomes a real challenge. Not that we can't get them here, but we're worrying about what we have in our hospitals right now. As of today, Maui has 36 patients. Maui Memorial has 36 patients with COVID. They have 17 that are vaccinated, 19 that are not vaccinated, 5 in the ICU, 3 vaccinated, and 2 unvaccinated. And so right now, we're concerned. The numbers have grown, and we're really monitoring and watching what will happen next.
One thing that is different this time around with this surge is the way in which things are being led by counties. The governor gave the authority to the mayors to implement any sort of restrictions or changes. How has that been working out with you with this time around with this latest surge? And what sort of changes are coming to Maui County maybe to help regulate this recent surge with Omicron?
Well, let's talk about the surge first. The surge has been very, very large, and the spread has been very quick. And that, no matter which county, we've all had record numbers of daily, weekly, and many of us monthly. January will be a record month for most of the counties. What we have been looking at is, of course, our hospital, the positivity rate, and the numbers. We're finding that there's a lot more young people. About 1/3 of all our cases each and every day are school age, 18 and under, that are being affected. And they're the ones that really, in many cases, have milder symptoms, get well quicker. And so the 5-day quarantine has helped us make better decisions. We are really trying to protect the elders, those who have health impediments or health challenges, and those that really are in the front line, our frontline workers, whether they're healthcare, first responders, those who are out there in the public dealing with sick people or dealing with people that may be infected. We need to protect them. So what we're trying to do is make sure boosters and vaccinations rates are being administered, and testing. We have really done a robust amount of testing throughout the county of Maui, and that is reflected in the high numbers. But more importantly, we're finding them before they spread. So that's really important. So this is the 3 phases that we've been working through. I am, looking at other restrictions. I've talked to the Restaurant Association, the hotels, other business entities. And I've warned them that if the numbers cannot come down and our hospital gets taxed, I'll have no option but to start reducing capacity in the various entities such as restaurants, gyms, bars, from the 100% right now to 50%. Maybe even requiring masks outside as well as inside. So there are some considerations right now, but I'm waiting to see what tomorrow's numbers bring, and Monday being a holiday, what happens over the weekend. And from what Dr. Pang and others have saying, we should be hitting the peak sometime this week or next and kind of leveling off. And when we start to level off, then will give us a good accurate picture on what we can consider per day. Because right now our per day average for our population is about 580 at this point.
So what is that sort of line in the sand for you? You're going to look at tomorrow's numbers, and you said all the way through Monday. When would you make a decision if you did make one? What would trigger those kinds of restrictions that you're talking about?
Well, it would be where a hospital, if they get over 50 beds in the hospital and in ICU over 15 or 20, like they were when we had the last major outbreak, is what we're kind of looking at. We are looking at as the lines in the sand where we have to pull back and stop, put other restrictions throughout the county of Maui.
And when it comes to what is classified as vaccinated, there is that conversation that continues on here on the island of Oahu of making sure that the booster shot is added or incorporated into the vaccine verification program for the Safe Access Oahu program, which would allow, require people to at least have that booster shot in order to enter venues and such. Talk about the conversations that's happening on Maui when it comes to boosters and factoring that into the vaccine verification that you have there.
As you're well aware, I've been asking both the governor, part of it is the Safe Travels plan and having the consideration for fully vaccinated booster be added to that, or a third shot, that the individuals coming in, whether returning residents or visitors, to be considered fully vaccinated, or in the CDC, keeping your vaccination current or updated. We want to look at the third shot or the booster for all visitors coming in and return residents, because a large number of the spread has come from residents as well as visitors, but more residents returning home. The other part of this is the fact that we want to make sure we have enough test availability. And right now, the personnel within these testing organizations are being stressed because they're having positive cases and they're being put out. So their numbers have dwindled also. One of the other challenge areas we're having is, again, like the booster shots. The hospital and others are administering that, but the challenge we're facing, again, lack of staff. So we're trying to see if there's other means. We're waiting for our nurses from FEMA and from other areas to come in, traveling nurses. When they arrive, which we're hoping it will be early next week, then that will reduce the stress and be able to up the ante as far as the ability to vaccinate. So, these are all the challenges we're facing right now, and trying to meet it head on as soon as we can.
With that safe travels conversation, can you tell us a little bit more about what that is like? Are you the only mayor that is calling for that change, or is that something that is being asked for by all the mayors at this point? And how soon do you hope that would actually be implemented?
Well, let me answer in this question. I don't really like to answer for other mayors. I don't want to speak for them. But the general consensus seems that we need to do this at a certain point before it gets really out of hand. And I think many of us are hoping sometime soon, by the end of this month or early February. And that is our hope with the governor. And considering all the numbers that, we think this is very important. But that's the general consensus I can give you at this point. When you really want to ask another mayor, you really should ask them, not what I think or what I believe they're thinking.
Fair enough. We hope to follow up with the other mayors as well. One of the other things that comes into consideration right now is gathering sizes overall. We know that here in Oahu, Mayor Blangiardi has limited larger gatherings to 50%, those over 1,000 people in capacity. We know the Big Island also has some regulations in place for gathering sizes. What currently is, or is there any ruling on Maui in terms of gathering sizes? And I know you had mentioned earlier that that would be the area that you would look at, is the capacity of establishments. But if you can speak to your consideration with any regulations when it comes to these large gatherings.
Well, first of all, we don't have many venues on in Maui County that we could have, like the convention center or the Ching Stadium at the University of Hawaii. The MAC is about the biggest we have right now, and for us, they have been compliant. They have gone to 50% vaccination only, masking for the indoor event at the Castle Theater. Any outdoor event with physical distancing and wearing of masks would be required. And so the large venues we have here are very slim. Our Maui Interscholastic League just announced a couple of days ago that they won't allow spectators at any of the high school sporting events here in Maui County. That's one of those areas where if it's outdoors, I'm advocating for them to consider physical distancing and no food, like we do what you're doing in Oahu. And if it's indoors, 50% of the capacity of the facility itself, and allowing their parents at least to enjoy that. So that's very important. There's other areas that we're looking at that the hotels have been very considerate about. Luau's physically distancing as much as they can and doing them outdoors, keeping events, even conventions and conferences outdoors whenever possible, and all the physical protocols and physical distancing that needs to be done within their facility. So I feel comfortable. And then for our regular, right now it's 10 and 25, 10 people out inside, 25 outdoors for regular social gatherings for non-commercial entities. Unfortunately, we just came off the New Year's holiday season. And I believe some of this is a residual effect of the New Year's celebrations, but we all knew it was coming. We asked people to be careful, and I think many tried, but this Omicron is moving very quickly and spreads extremely fast, and we're seeing the results right now.
You talked about the lack of hospital staff and healthcare workers and how that's impacting this particular surge. I'm interested to know, do you feel like there aren't enough healthcare workers right now to administer the booster shots that you need, or are enough people getting boosted in your county, and what are you doing to that end?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, we're hoping for relief from the female nurses that are coming in who have to only deal with COVID-19 and some of the travel nurses that my healthcare system is trying to bring in at this moment in time. So when they come in, they can relieve the stress on the present healthcare workers, whether they're in the hospital administrating the patients themselves or doing booster shots or the third shot. Yes, I think we're a little bit stressed, as I mentioned earlier before, and I do need help, and we are looking to get help in as soon as possible to relieve that stress point.
I want to shift gears just a little here to bring up some other things that are happening over there on Maui. A new police chief has been sworn into office there for Maui County. If you can talk about how your relation has been thus far with the new police chief and the efforts that he's trying to do to change the climate and just the overall environment there on Maui.
I've been proud to work with this new police chief and his deputy. They've come in and really wanting to make Maui County's police department a better police department than it's ever been. I respect that. We have a really good police department. They've done a great job, not only with this pandemic, but in all aspects that you cannot ask for more from them. But recruiting is one of the big issues right now. Getting new police officers has been a big challenge, and this pandemic has made it even worse. So we're now at 1/3 our force level. And with that being said, we are actively, and I've given the chief the green light to get a recruiter or get a recruiting team and get out there and do what he can to get more new police officers in our force. However, I will say those that are out there right now are working extremely hard, and I'm thankful, and I think the people of Maui County are thankful So let's give our police chief an opportunity to really show his worth. A little over a month is not much time. In fact, tomorrow makes 1 month since he took office. And, I want to give him all the opportunities to succeed, and I will support him in every way possible.
I want to bring in this question from Wendy Osher, who's a reporter I'm sure you know well. She asks, you have already pushed back a third shot mandate from January 8th to January 24th. Is it still set to take effect at that time, or are you waiting for a statewide mandate? And pushing that question a little further, do you think there should be a statewide vaccine verification program and not have it be county by county, or do you like having this system? And is the 24th still the date?
Well, at this point, the 24th is still active. I am reasonably looking at changes if necessary. And just like what we did on the 8th, when the CDC changed the policy and included 12 to 17-year-olds, we felt that change was very necessitated. And the businesses came along and said, we need a little bit more time. They've been working hard with getting their employees vaccinated or the booster, whichever they can or they need at this point. So will I move it? If the state comes up with a statewide mandate, then I would move it to that date if so specified. So I'm waiting to see what the state does. But at this point, the 24th is where I'm looking to make sure that we'll take the necessary actions needed after the 24th if people are not boosted, testing or whatever else will be required.
Another non-COVID question regarding tourism and travel to the island of Maui. We know that Maui has become a very popular destination. And the last time you were on this program, you spoke about some of the challenges of weighing tourism with those local residents. So there was some pushback with beach access, as many of the similar issues and comments that we're hearing from local residents on other islands being expressed there on the island of Maui. I'm wondering if you can update us on how things have progressed with tourism and the re-establishment of tourism during this time following this, well, we're still in the middle of this pandemic, but it's certainly a lot more visitors coming to the islands now. How are things transitioned for you folks there on Maui, and how are you managing these visitors that are coming to the island?
Well, for Maui County, like the other counties, we are now trying to make sure we have policies in place that protect our residents and our visitors alike. Part of that is what DBAT is doing right now, along with the Maui Visitors Bureau, my staff that is working with the group as far as formulating and completing a master plan, or a strategic plan, I should say, for Maui County as far as how we move forward with tourism. We want to make sure that our tourism or hospitality industry is the cornerstone. However, we need to diversify with agriculture, wellness, technology, and other areas where we're making some strides at this very time to make sure our economy is more stable and not dependent solely on one entity called hospitality. But the hospitality industry is here, so let's work with them. I know our council is working, has a group that's working, and I'm calling upon them to get together now that they've been working for a while, and let's compare notes and let's see what we can do in the very near future. Probably by the middle of February is our hope that we can come out with a comprehensive Maui plan, Maui County plan that's incorporated the DBAT, the state plan, Maui Visitors Bureau, the council, and mine, or the administration put together so that the people of Maui County can feel more secure, and the visitors will know that we're trying to protect the resources, protect our environment, protect our culture. These are things that have to be put in the plan so that when we come out much stronger than we went in.
And in that plan, I know in the past you had spoken about perhaps more fee-based access, what Ryan was referring to, the idea of restricting some environmental impacts and community impacts so that, the same beach isn't overrun with a bunch of rental cars along with, Kama'aina who also want to enjoy the same space. What specific areas are you looking at adding those fee-based access programs? Can you tell us a little bit about where we might expect some of that?
Well, I'd rather not disclose that because I'm still working with landowners and others to make sure whatever we come up with will be accepted by all or by most of the people. Because when you buy in, you get success pretty quickly. when you have adversarial roles, it's much tougher. So right now we're in the middle of trying to finish up some of the agreements with some of the landowners, so access and beach availability will be much more available for our residents. I'm also in the right now in the middle of negotiations to be able to purchase or acquire, maybe that's the word I would like to use before I say purchase, acquire a number of beach and beach parks which we have leased or other entities have utilized that we want the care custody control, whether it's Keawe Kapu in Kihei or Baldwin or Ho'okipa here on East Maui, Central Maui, Kanaha, and expanding that, and West Maui, some of the beaches there that we feel, beach parks that we should have the control on, that we can do a better job for our residents and visitors alike. So we're in the middle of a lot of different entities. That's why it's really hard. I don't want to be specific because some of this is delicate and negotiations that I don't want to, at this point, hurt us and jeopardize where we're at this point.
And quickly, another change that has happened, of course, in tourism is the structure of the TAT. Can you give us an update on how things are going there with Maui County setting up that structure in itself now that the counties are able to charge up to 3%, and how that is being managed with the council, as well as just the overall, the tax structure for Maui County now having to be the ones that are going to be collecting that portion?
We have a separate division we've tasked with the challenge of not only collecting the tax, but making sure that that money becomes available in various areas. This year's budget, the 2023-24 budget that I will be sending down to the council in March, will have a robust increase and will have what I believe the TT will be available for us for that fiscal year. Unfortunately, no one has a barometer of the future. We can only guess or estimate, or with the best information available, make some conclusions, and that's what we're working on right now. And it's up to the council to approve the budget. That's another issue. I can submit a budget in March, but the council has till June of 2022 to approve the new fiscal budget. So with that all being said, I'm comfortable in what we're doing. I'm comfortable where we're going, and we are collecting the tax. We've worked out a number of bugs about different issues that the hotels and other short-term rentals came up with. And right now, as far as I've heard from my finance department, it's working well, and that the money's now become available in the coffers, and we are looking to utilize it for different issues immediately if necessary.
One of the things that affected all the islands, but Maui in particular, was the shortage of rental cars. When all those rental cars were moved off the island, and that was, in some people's view, a good thing. And there was this idea that we would add shuttle buses, and I know that that was something that you were looking at. Can you tell us an update on that? Are you seeing an influx of rental cars coming back, or are you moving more to a bigger, shuttles being a bigger part of the landscape there, as opposed to adding all those cars back?
Well, the answer would be both. Okay, let's start with the rental cars. Many of the rental car companies have brought back more vehicles, but they're not bringing it anywhere close to what they had pre-pandemic. And we are looking at companies that are working with shuttle services. Also, we're looking at how we can increase maybe our bus system to accommodate the visitors within the South Maui area and the West Maui area, because more of them are utilized very heavily by residents, and maybe adding a few buses to the routes a few more times so that the visitors can also be able to get around West Maui and South Maui and not have to jump in a car. So we are working on plans of that, and we hope to have that all presented to the council when we present our 2023 budget.
Well, we appreciate the time, but before we let you go, I want to just allow you one final thought or message that you may have for viewers out there, those who are in your county that may be watching this morning, and any final thoughts that you have.
Well, thank you very much to both of you, Ryan and Yogi. I appreciate every time we get together and you giving me this opportunity. To the people of my county, I remind them that yes, this variant is not as severe, and hospitalization has to this point been fairly level, but it can get out of hand. It can grow very quickly, and we need to be vigilant. I leave it in your hands to help us get through this one like we've done the others. You've always stepped up to the plate, and I'm proud of the people of Maui County. We will, in government and other entities, do our best to accommodate and assist with testing, boosters, whatever else we can do. But we need your help to help prevent the spread. And by doing what is right with good hygiene and physical distancing when possible, and wearing of masks whenever possible, especially indoors, will really help reduce that spread. So I call upon the people, and I thank you, and I thank all of you for what you've done. To both of you, Ryan and Yanji, thank you so much. It's so nice to see you folks. Again, like I said earlier, I wish you a happy and healthy, and more important, a prosperous new year.
Thank you so much, Maui Mayor Mike Victorino, for joining us this morning. We do appreciate your time. Thank you.
Aloha.
Good to hear from him, and interesting to hear his thinking. He does say that if case counts continue to rise, that they could be looking at possible new restrictions on Maui. And it's a very fluid situation. He said that he's going to be looking at the case counts over the next few days into the weekend and on Monday to see if perhaps, and he says that he's given a warning to business owners, restaurants, and the like, that there could be size and capacity restrictions coming, perhaps asking folks to even wear masks outside. He did say that he is holding to that January 24th date of changing the vaccine verification program in the county to require a booster shot as well, although that could change if there was a statewide vaccine verification program put into place. And Ryan, you did hear him calling for a change to the Safe Travels program as well.
Yeah, and one of the things that would make it easier for Maui to implement that would be some of those changes happening on a statewide level. He's saying that they're still in coordination and talking with the governor on how to provide those changes for the Safe Travels program to include and qualify a third shot to be the requirement for vaccine verification coming into the islands. And so he's saying that conversation continues to happen with the state. As you mentioned, Maui County will be moving forward with that, but it remains to be seen if there are changes that will have come down from the CDC that might also alter that date by any means, and also if the state may jump in if the CDC also makes any sort of recommendation into what qualifies for that vaccination verification program.
Yeah, you heard him also talk about the tourism master plan that the county is working on, that they're going to be presenting, looking at possible access charges for certain areas, also wanting to take over running some of the beach parks in different areas so that they can have better coordination, also increasing public transportation availability to make it easier for visitors so that we don't see a glut of those rental cars. But we do know that the rental car companies have been bringing quite a few cars back. And so there are people in the community who say they don't want all that traffic coming back on the road. So how does the county balance that, making sure that the visitors can get around, but also making sure that the roads aren't as congested as they once were?
Yeah, and he said, going back to COVID-19, that a lot will be looked at after this weekend. Of course, this is a long weekend, and so the mayor are going to be paying attention to what happens with those case counts and the combination of this New Year's surge that is expected to happen around this time heading into next week. Speaking of guests that we like to have on holidays, it's the Lieutenant Governor. He always is willing to appear on our show despite it being a holiday. He will join us here on Monday to discuss what's happening, of course, with COVID-19, these surges. He pays close attention to the hospitalizations across the state, and so we'll get an update from him on those numbers as well. We look forward to speaking with him. We thank you for joining us here this morning, and we'll see you right back here on Monday. Until then, stay safe and aloha.
Aloha.
This episode of Spotlight Hawaii is brought to you by Longstrugs and Beachside Roofing.